Wondering what to expect from The Young and the Restless on September 26, 2025? Read on for the details. The previous episode of The Young and the Restless saw Victor making Kane an offer that was hard to refuse. On the other hand, Jack had a trick up his sleeve to counter Kane and his agendas against other businesses. Lastly, Billy forced Sally to make a tough decision about them. The drama, apologies, chaos, alliances, and big moves will get more heated in the coming weeks. Here's what the fans can expect from the September 26, 2025 episode of The Young and the Restless when they tune in to CBS to watch the popular daytime drama. The week's final episode features Victor considering calling a truce with Jack. The two have been never-ending rivals for decades, but it seems like a new enemy can unite even the strongest foes. Kane plans to attack many companies in the city, and Jabot is also one of the targets. Now that Jack knows how Kane plans to use AI to make moves, he has a plan. He thinks it's time to team up with Victor to take out Kane. Diane was unsure about this alliance and warned her husband about it. But Jack claimed he knew what he was doing. He thinks this is the best move. Victor is not averse to the idea either. But how long will this truce last? And will their differences cause chaos in their alliance? Meanwhile, Kane ends an alliance. He has been making moves of his own, and making alliances, and breaking them is part of it. But who is this one going to be about? Will this be Michael, who was planted by Victor as a double agent? Or is this someone else? Is this a smart move by Kane? Or will he later grow to regret it? Especially with both Jack and Victor temporarily joining hands against him. Last but not least, Nikki receives surprising news. What is this about? Is this related to her professional or personal life? Is this about Chancellor, a company she runs at the moment? Or is this about her family? A lot is happening in her work right now, so it could be anything. How will she deal with this new surprise? Stay tuned to The Young and the Restless for more. The previous episode of The Young and the Restless saw Devon actively encouraging Lily to make a fresh start and let the burden of her past go. On the other hand, Phyllis and Michael called a truce and tried to fix their old friendship. And lastly, Kane chose to share his new agenda with Amanda. The drama, the plans, the plotting, the friction and the tension is about to hit the fan, with collapses and moves happening. Here's what fans can expect from the September 16th, 2025 episode of The Young and the Restless when they tune in to CBS to watch the daytime drama set around Genoa City. The episode on Tuesday features Kyle being forced to take the high road. Ever since Claire found out that he lies to her, she has been maintaining some distance from him. Claire even rejected Kyle's proposal, and this has Kyle grappling with fear. He realized he needed to take a different route. Is that why he is forced to take the high road? Is this his attempt to gain the respect he lost and fix his romance with Claire? Will it even work? Or will this be another fail, just like his rushed proposal? On the other hand, Adam puts Chelsea in a tough position. What exactly could this be about? Is this somehow related to Billy again? After all, that's one topic they can't seem to not fight about. He will never be on his team, and she cannot stop defending him. So when Adam puts Chelsea in a tough spot, how will she navigate this? Will this cause the cracks in their relationship to deepen? Or will they manage to avoid the topic and focus on their work instead? And then, last but not the least, Sally stands her ground with Billy. She can be a very understanding person, but she doesn't take anyone's shit. Sally knows how to stand for herself, and there's only so many chances she can give. Billy's business moves and recent choices have not gone down well with Sally. and she has made sure to question him at every step. But despite her telling him that she is not in favor of his deal with Cain, he is still adamantly pursuing this. And now it's time for Sally to stand her ground. What's next? Cain's next big move wouldn't be a traditional corporate raid. He lacks the capital for that. Instead, it would be a move born of cunning, insider knowledge, and sheer audacity. Drawing on his past experience as a corporate security head and his inherent charm, Cain could identify a critical vulnerability within Newman Enterprises. Perhaps it's a clandestine multi-billion-dollar project Victor is keeping off the books. A project with questionable ethics or shaky legal footing. Something even Victor wouldn't want exposed. Maybe it's the volatile situation with Adam Newman. Victor's relationship with his son is a perpetual fault line. And Cain, as an outsider, might see an angle that those too close to the drama have missed. He could approach Adam, not as a foe, but as a potential ally, whispering promises of helping him secure his birthright, away from Victoria's grip, in exchange for a powerful position and the resources to challenge Lily's new life with Daniel Romalotti. Alternatively, Cain's move could be more personal. He might unearth a decades-old secret that Victor has buried, one that doesn't just threaten his company, but his marriage to Nikki. Knowing Victor's fiercest loyalty is to his wife, Cain might believe that threatening Nikki's peace or reputation is the ultimate leverage. He wouldn't do it out of malice toward Nikki, but out of a twisted sense of necessity. He would see it as business, the only business Victor truly understands. This gambit would be sloppy, reckless, and fraught with risk. It wouldn't have the finesse of a Jack Abbott scheme, but its very clumsiness would make it unpredictable. Victor is a master chess player. Cain, in this scenario, would be kicking over the board. The conflagration, Victor's unthinkable response. Initially, Victor would react with dismissive contempt. A warning about Cain Ashby would be met with a derisive snort. That is who I should be worried about? He would scoff to Michael Baldwin, but as Cain's actions begin to create tangible problems, a delayed merger, a suspicious investor, a worried call from a board member, a distressed Nikki, Victor's annoyance would curdle into something colder and more dangerous. Victor Newman has a code, however warped it may seem. He deals with threats decisively, but typically within the confines of the law, or at least its murky edges. He ruins rivals financially, exposes their secrets, or exiles them from Genoa City. However, what happens when a threat is too persistent, too irrational, and too personal to be neutralized by conventional means? What happens when the threat targets not just his empire, but the very foundation of his life with Nikki? This is where the unthinkable comes into play. Pushed to the brink by Cain's relentless, chaotic assault, Victor could be driven to sanction a move that crosses a line from which there is no return: the permanent elimination of the problem. The term unthinkable for Victor Newman is a high bar. He has faked his own death, committed corporate espionage, and manipulated his children's lives. But ordering physical harm against someone has largely been outside his playbook. He prefers to crush souls, not bodies. Yet, Cain could become the exception. It wouldn't be a cold-blooded command. It would be the result of mounting pressure from all sides. Perhaps Victoria and Nick are at each other's throats again. Adam is spiraling. And now, this gnat, Cain Ashby, is causing a seismic shift that threatens to topple everything. In a moment of rage and utter frustration, seeing no other way to protect what he has built, Victor might turn to a shadowy associate and utter a phrase like, "I don't care how you do it." Just make sure Cain Ashby is no longer a concern. Permanently. This command would hang in the air, a point of no return. The victor who emerges from that decision would not be the same man. He would have crossed a moral event horizon, becoming the monster his enemies have always accused him of being. The fallout, a Genoa City earthquake. The repercussions would ripple through every corner of Genoa City, forever altering the show's landscape. The Newman family schism. If Victoria, Nick, or Adam discovered their father had taken such a drastic step, the Newman family would shatter beyond repair. This wouldn't be a temporary falling out. It would be a permanent rupture. Nick, the moral compass, would be horrified and would likely take his mother and leave, condemning Victor utterly. Victoria, the pragmatist, might be terrified, but also perversely impressed, solidifying her own ruthless tendencies, but creating an irreparable chasm of fear and disgust between her and her father. The Winters-Abbott coalition. The disappearance or death of Cain would devastate Lily. Despite their divorce, the father of her children meeting a tragic end would unleash a tsunami of grief and guilt. It would also unite the Winters and Abbott families in a way not seen since the death of John Abbott. They would suspect Victor immediately. Billy Abbott, with his obsessive hatred for Victor, would lead a crusade for justice, partnering with Lily and Devon to bring down the Newman Empire once and for all. This would create a unified, powerful, and emotionally charged opposition, the likes of which Victor has never faced. Victor and Nikki. The greatest casualty would be Victor's marriage. Nikki Newman has stood by her husband through every scandal, every betrayal, every dark deed. But this would be different. This would be a fundamental violation of the man she believes, at his core, he truly is. The knowledge that her husband ordered a hit on the father of Lily's children, a man they both know, would break her. Her own hard-won sobriety could be jeopardized, and she would be faced with an impossible choice. Stand by the murderer of her husband, or abandon the love of her life. It's a conflict that could define the character for years to come. Conclusion. A storyline of Shakespearean proportions. A storyline pitting a desperate Cain Ashby against an increasingly cornered Victor Newman is more than just a ratings grab. It's a narrative rich with Shakespearean tragedy. It's a classic tale of hubris and desperation, where the king's downfall is precipitated not by a noble rival, but by a fool who in his folly exposes the rotten foundations of the kingdom. Cain's next big move, born of personal tragedy, would act as a catalyst, holding a mirror up to Victor Newman and forcing him to confront the darkest potential of his own power. In trying to eliminate a perceived pest, Victor would ultimately destroy the very things he sought to protect: his family, his legacy, and his soul. It would be the ultimate game changer, not because Cain wins, but because he provokes a loss so profound that the landscape of Genoa City would be scarred forever. The unthinkable act would not be a victory. It would be Victor's final, most devastating defeat.